Grand Rising. Good afternoon, good evening. This is Lisa from Question the Narrative here with Honey Golden on Wednesday, January the 28th, the end of this supposed first month of the year. Honey, how are you today on this cold day in Colorado?
I'm good. Everything's good. Yeah. It is
Good.
cold, but honestly, Colorado's been much warmer than normal. So
Interesting.
interesting.
Well, this
Like in a few
narrative.
days, it'll be 47 during the day in February or January. We're still in January.
So Colorado's having a hot flash, huh? Interesting, interesting. Well, we've had this thing, weather as a narrative, for quite some time. And might as well start out by talking about the weather since it was omnipresent. Now, my daughter is moving to New York and she's, hearing what people are saying what's going on in New York. And honestly, it doesn't seem like it's too bad in the city. Yes, you had snow. We've all skied in Times Square. If you've lived in New York City for 10 years, it used to be much worse. But this narrative, the one thing we are hearing and seeing are weather patterns that instead of going longitudinally are going north-south latitudinally, which is
Mhm.
not the way weather has worked in our past. And I don't know if that was even a normal weather pattern. So, honey, we were also hearing things about how the snow it has a different molecular structure. It's not the crystalline structure that we've seen. So let's ask this question. Was this storm created by non-natural means?
Yeah, a lot of it, most of it.
From the good guys to the bad guys, the white hats or the black hats?
Um, I would say it was a planned event.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about it, it comes in as Hunger Games type event.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it was planned in the past, years ago. So I get that the White Hats use that plan to show something. And it's amazing how many people are talking about it. And they're talking
Mm-hmm.
about the chemtrails and they're talking about the storm that came. And the storm wasn't nearly as bad in most places than they expected. Now, I do know one person that didn't have power for 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
which is drastic if you are
If you're in the
dependent
cold.
on that for your heat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But pretty interesting stuff going on with that. And also, RFK is kind of talking about chemtrails. We're going to stop geoengineering. And unfortunately, with humanity in general, there has to be some kind of drama to become aware.
Yeah. And this storm, I think going back to the first point that you're talking about, it's getting everybody to talk about it and to create it. So they have used weather as a main lead on the news for, I'm
Mhm.
going to say now 15, 20 years. And that's when weather became the real issue. So what shifted? Why did the Black Hats need to use weather as the narrative starting 15 years ago?
They really were like testing how much control. It was like a litmus test for them. How much can we control? How miserable can we make them? How many tornadoes can we make land? How many movies can we make about it? How much fear can we create? And that was all black hat stuff and
Hmm.
feeding off the loosh energy, but also seeing how powerful is humanity to create their own reality because
Ah.
more and more big souls were coming in,
Hmm.
So since the incubator baby, more and more big souls have come in to shift the reality. And if they could fool the big souls, then that's what they wanted.
So that's the thing. So there really was a shift in this narrative because the weather really hasn't changed that much. It actually has gotten warmer. But we're
Yeah.
also seeing, because this ice and this term ice is very interesting. Words mean so much. The ice agents in the political narrative right now,
Yeah.
particularly in Minneapolis and Minnesota. And then we have the ice of the polar caps, where we said that we have global warming, yet then we have colder weather. So they're trying to, like, the narratives are quite interesting. I don't know how they're dancing on the top of this pinhead. But you're saying that we're melting what's underneath Greenland, which had the largest ice cap, up at the north. What they're seeing up there with this melting of the ice is civilizations and different things that have been hidden. One comment was is that it was actually Lucifer that was underneath the ice. So what happened that froze up there in Greenland, and what is going to be
To
underneath
me,
from the
it's like a
melting?
really advanced ET. Sorry, we had like a stutter in there.
No worries, of course.
Um, so it was a really advanced ET civilization. It feels like they actually got into like fighting with each other as well. And I think it's important to remember that this whole area that we've been in as humanity has basically been under a dome, sequestered
Hmm.
as a not so nice experiment for a very long time. So the weather has been controlled for a really long time.
Hmm.
And the human part of us hasn't wanted to believe that. But then there were people that came or descended from the Anunnaki that totally were utilizing that.
So they played around with weather because they controlled. But was there a flash freeze that killed humanity or killed these civilizations, or was it something else?
No, it feels more like the melted, the turning to stone type stuff versus
Right.
the
Okay.
freezing. Now we did have an ice age,
Yeah.
and that was created by emotion. And we have to remember this is a game board, right? So Earth is not flat, in my opinion. She's a being, but she has brothers and sisters and all kinds of different beings that interact with her. And one of them got very, very upset, and he's back now. So that's Atlas. And his emotion created the Ice Age.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that there wasn't some sort of tech,
Yeah.
explanation as well, because we were in 3D at that point. So he
Mm.
could have done that with tech, but really the source of it was the emotion. Just like an illness comes from the energetic field first
Hmm.
around your body, and then you see the manifestation, it always starts with the emotion.
Yeah, yeah. And that's how our bodies work as well. As we've
Yeah.
talked about before, the emotion creates the illness, the dis-ease that we have in our body through emotions and not releasing the emotions, which has been very interesting. So we have ice, and then that leads to these ice agents, and we keep on talking about the control and this geopolitical control. Let's go into this whole idea of what has been happening through Davos, not from Davos, through Davos, the agenda, because Davos itself would really not have been much of a news source if it had gone on in its normal past performance, but only because Trump and a team from the United States went over there and pretty much upended the entire narrative. And what they did is they upended the narrative of globalization, saying directly that the narrative of globalization, that globalization was a failure, and we're moving back from there. Now, that narrative is really interesting because Davos last year was a non-event. And the year before that, it was a non-event. In fact, they were using it as the walk of shame for Klaus, whatever his name is. And so why Davos and why now is Trump able to get this narrative of the destruction of globalization out there? What does this mean?
They're ready. It's time. It's the end of the elites. So the deletes are actually being deleted right now. So he's showing that. And a lot of the things that they're showing, like they've already happened.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're showing it and they're inviting us to be aware.
Hmm.
And we're speeding all of that up because we've been in loops for years. Since 2020, we've been in a loop. And each loop brings us closer to manifestation of the new. So we're finally in that loop where we're ready to manifest it.
So it's like the
So,
Marvel movie Endgame. We're in the Endgame. So the Endgame may happen, and then we have to go back and
yeah,
figure out how to make it. We're in the trying to figure out what the right final scene should be in this whole game, which is interesting. So what's
exactly.
interesting about what's going on in Davos and this whole dialogue, which is destruction of the global system, which has many interesting effects, which says that we don't have free trade. We don't have the supply chains that were all developed to have free trade associated with them. Our financial systems no longer have this interoperability from the old world. Of course, the new world
Mm-mm.
still. And then we have all of these different elements that come together and say that, Europe and the US, we're going our separate ways. We're no longer going to be focused on you. And then we've got Russia, China, India. Now, India is coming in to play a game. So the reshuffling of the deck. Now, what's interesting is you have power structures, geopolitical power structures, and then you have power such as oil and gas being shifted around in the supply chain. How important is showing the new alliances for oil and power and energy in this game that we're playing to disrupt globalization?
It's really important. So there's different things that are going on. You have people saying, yeah, I love my country. I don't want to have people here interfering with it and changing it and ruining it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that. I don't want them stealing from me anymore. I was born here and I don't want that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's going on, and it's going on in the US, it's going on all around the world. People are demonstrating that they're upset that they've been taken over by an
Mm.
outside force.
Yeah.
So energetically, they're saying no.
Okay.
And
So
they're
yeah.
saying no to the old agenda that was going to be the Hunger Games agenda.
Yeah.
Basically, let's get a hold of all these countries and we're going to destroy them from within.
Which is really what they've done, as we were talking about last week. They've done this extremely well through the opium wars in China and now the fentanyl wars, whichever, the drug wars within the US. But it's interesting that you said that each country is for themselves. There was a very funny, and we can do this. It was a great little meme where they used Trump and he's sitting down. I forget with which other geopolitical figure may have been at Davos and said, okay, so you're telling me that Greenland is for Greenlanders. I can get onto that agenda, but help me out with the logic. The logic is that then Britain is for British people, France is for the French people, and the United States is for American. Because if you're saying Greenland is for Greenlanders, then America is for the Americans. Is that what you're trying to say? And it was so funny. He went on, and it's the logic that
Yeah.
he's cracking the logic in a joke. And it's obviously not Trump or it's some kind of thing where they're putting that seeding into the consciousness, where Greenland becomes a like, we've got NATO going against NATO, US, who's funding all of NATO. And the US says, you know what? Now, I'm going to charge you. South Korea, you know how much your protection has cost you against North Korea? It's in the billions, but we're giving you a discount. We're giving you the cost it was before. But that means you can't trade with us anymore if you want to do this. And then all of the different systems are shifting around. So it's very funny right now that you mentioned that it is about each country has been infiltrated unto itself. And what was the end goal of that, honey? What was the real meaning of it?
Well, the old end goal was basically to collapse everything, and the countries would have been the districts. in the Hunger Games. So think
Mm.
about it that way,
I
you
don't know the
know.
Hunger Games story very well, so
So the
I will
Hunger
have to go
Games,
with
they
you.
have districts, and I would go look it up
Oh,
if you
good.
haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Very, very indicative of what they were looking for. And there were these elite people, and they basically had like beehive hairdos and little things in their hair and makeup that was like clown makeup and the most extravagant outfits ever. And then everybody else was like starving.
Okay. Okay.
So the Hunger Games, and she actually, in one of these games, she pulled, because there's a hero or
Of course.
heroine,
Now I knew the
and
person who's doing that. I
she
just don't know
pulled
the
an
story.
arrow and
Hmm.
she hit the dome up above, which was really interesting.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
but basically, that's what they wanted to create. And not only in just the countries, but also in like, the counties, in your in macro and micro. They wanted to
Hmm.
create those things going on. But what's happening actually is now people are saying, I'm sovereign. This is my country. This is how they're teaching people how to be sovereign. And we will be sovereign in our own country. And then we will be like, oh, well, those guys aren't here anymore. And now I get to go and travel and see other people's points of view. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay with just being on planet Earth. And that's
Mm-hmm.
my area that I live in. So it's like it's a step. It's
Mm-hmm.
a stairway that we're on, just like we've been on. And there's all these different moving pieces. It's like a huge clock
Mm.
to me.
It is very interesting how the narrative, because you have this yin and yang, which does have the sort of, it smells like a little bit of 3D, the
Yeah.
duality, but it's going back and forth. But you have this yin and yang about how the terminology, which is the New World Order and we are united as one. Those things, and I think it's been a very complex discernment process in order to identify that, because everything that is unwinding now on this geopolitical spectrum is really a hair shade about which way you look at it. It's so refined. It's the same concept, but it's shifted in the perspective of it, what you see. And it goes on to this whole idea that the best manipulators are the ones that take the truth, and there's just enough truth in it to make it believable. And that's where I think humanity is struggling, because we're seeing these things and it's like, well, some of that's true. And then you really have to put on that discernment hat and say, but is that from love? Is that from fear? And that's the real interesting challenge right now.
Yeah, it is. Because the universe wants humanity to realize that they're sovereign beings and that they're autonomous. They get to choose
Mm-hmm.
what happens to them because they've been squished for so long and fooled and lied to and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
also the DNA was so out of whack that a lot of it was hard to comprehend,
Yeah.
too. So it took like a flood of big beings that are not, you're not normally human, and
Mm-hmm.
you're here and you're helping and you're awake and you know that you have a human consciousness, but you also have like this big being that's trying to guide you and show you what's actually happening. And that's the big perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you can talk to your higher self, you're going to see a bigger perspective. If you follow your intuition, you're going to be led into a bigger perspective, which is going to change the way that you do everything.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
what's really happening right now geopolitically. So we have this character, the Trump character, who's being
Yeah.
played by many, because it's such a big role. We have to have many people play the character,
Mhm.
is to create this chaos. And this chaos is serving a purpose. but the chaos comes in. I'm gonna, it's sort of like the game. Do you ever hear of this game at a fair called Whack-A-Mole, where the mole keeps on
Oh
coming
yeah.
up out of the different things you're trying to like cover the mole, and he's coming out in all these different ways, and he's always throwing things out there that are so far beyond what the belief system is, and he pulls it back. In fact, they've just now coined a term that I just heard. It's called the taco trade, which really comes into the whole idea of what's going on with oh, sorry, I've got someone at my door. Hold on one second. Hold on. Oh, this is terrible. We were going to do a fun thing. So, one second. I'm just gonna, okay, opening. Sorry, I gotta open the door. Always at the same time.
Okay.
So the taco trade is that Trump is going out there and he's doing this, and the thing is that Trump always chickens out is the taco. Trump always chickens out. And it means that he goes so far, he's like, and I'm going to tariff you, and then I'm going to tariff you, and I'm going to take Greenland, and I'm going to take Venezuela, and I'm going to take Cuba, and I'm going to do this. And then he pulls back. So what's the reason for that overreach and pulling back? Now we can understand the overreach because we're trying to move somewhere. Why does he pull back? What's the rationale in that part of the game?
So it's like drama, and don't make it as bad as you created. Pay attention. What's the real reason? What are we actually going to do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he's like creating awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So just like when you are an entrepreneur and you've had business after business and they've all failed,
Mm-hmm.
but you learn something each time, and then finally it works and you
Yes.
have an amazing business. And that's what we're doing right now. It's kind of like it's seeding consciousness. It's creating something that we're aware of, like in a very sharp way, but then it also steps back. And the nervous system isn't so insanely connected anymore, too. It's also teaching the nervous system to calm down.
That's really interesting you mentioned the nervous system because I think still at this stage, so much like we feel some of that anxiety, and they're saying the empaths are feeling it more, the ones that are here. But what role right now does calming down our nervous system have in supporting the ascension process?
Huge. Because your nervous system runs all the other systems in your body. Your body is the spaceship that everything is happening. It's your game piece, and it also has its own consciousness. And it's massive because you want to be able to enjoy what is about to happen
Yeah.
and also enjoy every single day. And you
Mhm.
can't enjoy it if your nervous system is out of whack because your brain's not working right, your body's not working right. It affects every single system.
I have to say I'm aware of my nervous system always being sort of in hyperdrive. And
Yeah.
I'm always giving myself the instructions to pull it back, pull it back, pull it back. Is that as good as it gets, or I have to leap forward because it is definitely a struggle. I am aware, acutely aware of it.
Part of it is the energies right now. So I've never been so like, and that's not totally true, but over the last year, I haven't felt the kind of stress, since my dad died. I haven't felt that kind of like, ooh, intense
Mm.
stress.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not coming from me, it's coming from the outside. And you don't always notice it because we're being pushed to clear
Mm-hmm.
everything
Mm-hmm.
right now.
I think you said something
So,
important there. It's coming from the outside.
yeah.
100% agree with that. Feel that.
So let it spin away and just say, okay, I'm only going to take what I need for my own body, for my own evolution, and I want the rest of it to wash by me. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is not, think about a wave and you're like in the ocean and I don't know, I don't have a good ocean thing, but say this is the ocean and there's all these people. So all my fingernails are people out in front of you and this is you. So you're here, you're this ring and the wave is going this way. So not only are you getting energy from the fingernail people, but you're also getting energy from the wave.
Hmm.
And you don't
Hmm.
need other people's energy, other people's stress, other people's stuff, because we are in a soup of consciousness.
Yeah.
So let it go by and talk to your nervous system about that. Like,
Mm.
okay, I
Hmm.
don't think this is all mine. I'm going to let it go.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And why? I'm going back to the specificity and importance of words. Why do we call it the nervous system?
Oh, that was definitely a distortion because it's your
Hmm.
electrical system,
Yeah, electrical system, right? Our
our energy
receivers. Yeah,
system.
our
Yeah.
receiver. Yeah, and energy. Oh my gosh, that comes back to energy is everything. Energy is the force of life. Energy is absolutely
Mhm.
everything. And right now, I'm going to bring it back to this whole system of geopolitical gamesmanship, which is all about I'm controlling energy. And as we've been talking about with airplanes, we're not really using that energy. And energy really isn't the thing. So why are we still playing around with the concept of energy?
Well, they need people to be aware that they haven't been in control, that they have been played, that they have been in a system where other people were playing with them. There was a guy that I saw this morning and he was on some kind of podcast and he said, you guys don't realize that 150 people actually control the world. And that's it. And the lady was laughing, and he's like totally straight face serious. And he was right. You know, there are very few people that have been controlling this whole scenario. And what is Trump's purpose? He's told us over and over, I'm here to return power to the people.
Yeah, yeah,
So he is destroying that system.
yeah.
And of course, it's a whole group of people doing that.
Right. And they,
But
a
he's
group of Trumps
the
too.
face of it. Yeah, and a group of Trumps. But he's the face of the destruction.
Yeah.
And the real Trump has already moved on to doing other things. You know, he's communicating with the galactics. He's creating things for humanity's next steps.
Mhm. Which is very interesting. So it's going back to energy. So let's take the other side of energy, or another aspect, I should say, of energy, which is money and the
Mhm.
financial systems that we've been playing with, which have been truly the control mechanism because we so believed that in order to exist, we have money. We are now seeing massive shifts, and we're seeing, as well as the energetic trade agreements that are shifting, such as Europe and India have now decided they're best friends and they're no longer going to charge each other to share. And we've got China in there, and we've got South Korea, and we've got Russia, and everything's going through the Russian oil, and it's all energetically connected together. But at the end of the day, Russia keeps coming out and saying, I'm with you. Let's do this board of peace. But you know what? I'm going to take that billion you stole, or those billions that you stole from me, you beautiful EU people, and I'm going to use that to pay for it. I'm going to contribute that. And then we're going to do that board of peace. And then we're going to play this game and we're going to play that game. But it all comes down to this money system. And right now, it looks like we are continuing on the trajectory of shifting out of the controlled suppression of silver and gold, and mostly silver. So
Mhm.
silver has been jettisoned and it's not pulling back. And that is an energy exchange. So tell us, what do you see happening from silver? What should we know that silver is telling us right now?
So silver is equal to gold and beyond. So you want to think about that. So if you're being told, oh, sell your silver, that actually is probably not the best plan. And I'm not a financial advisor, so do
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
Mhm.
But silver is harder to get. Silver is kind of an emotional metal. So all the soft metals are very valuable to humanity. So you want to think about that. Copper is very important to the body.
Mhm.
Silver really helps the body as well. Gold helps the body. So those three metals are very important for you, and they're
Physically.
very important to the world.
Mhm.
Like, I would like to replace the pipes with copper pipe before copper gets too expensive. So
Mhm.
think about it that way. But eventually, everybody will have so much that those costs of the metals will not seem crazy anymore either.
Mhm.
But right now, silver is the key to watching the financial system blossom
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
switch over.
So it's really,
And
mhm. Go
yeah,
say.
well, we're not going to have a central bank anymore. So there will be a moment where everything looks kind of like, what's going on? Is my money safe?
Yeah, yeah.
But I never worry because I ask once in a while, like, is my money safe,
Mhm.
in the bank? And I always get, yeah, and it'll just be replenished.
Mhm.
So they will change it from one system to another, and your money will stay there. And you may not have access to it for a few days,
Mhm.
but you're okay. And the banks will become individual type businesses versus dependence upon this big daddy bank that actually is controlling the world.
Mhm. Mhm.
So they'll be more like country based, and some of them are in multiple countries. I have one bank that's here and in Canada, and I'm like, oh, you know, that doesn't matter. We're the same country anyway, already, even though people haven't acknowledged it on the surface.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff is like that. So, and Minnesota is like that.
Mhm.
These
But
are making awareness of things that have happened in the past.
right, the corruption, the way things are going, how the money has been used, how none of the taxes that we paid have been going into anything that is actually supportive of what you're doing. But silver is really critical. You mentioned too that it'll equal or surpass the value of gold. And
Yeah.
silver, I think part of the reason that it's interesting is that silver was suppressed most. But
Mhm.
now we're finding out that silver is the one that, first of all, in order to get silver, it's generally the byproduct of another mining experience, such as a copper mine. So you get silver with it. So they don't have direct deposits, just a pure silver. We've been out of silver for years, and we've been in a deficit situation from a mining perspective with silver. But silver has been the one that is suppressed, and we've always put gold in this position of being the gold standard. So silver, why? And now we're seeing that silver is used for military, which, if we didn't have to use military, we'd all be okay with that, I'm sure. We don't want to be fighting anymore. That's the whole point. But it's for all of the different things like electrical cars. And I'm thinking, well, that's not going to stick around. But then they're also talking about how it's for other things. So silver must still have a value that we don't understand about an importance for society as a symbol as to why it was so suppressed. Can you tap in any further as why they suppressed it so much?
Hmm. So silver will enhance the psychic ability as well. So let's think about silver for a second. Silver enhances things for humanity. It's good for the body. It gets rid of parasites. viruses, all that kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
what is silver really? So think about if you had gold and you had silver next to each other. Silver is an etheric metal. So it's more about consciousness, and gold is more about warmth in the body, clearing things, and they have their own properties.
Mm.
But the thing is that gold was created to create, it was turned into something that created slavery. So you went away from slavery and they introduced gold. And that's in the Bible. I mean, it's very obvious that story. Um, so they gave a certain amount of gold, and that made people feel like, okay, we're all right. We have gold, you know.
Mhm.
But gold was distorted because it was used for slavery. It was also had a lot of curses on it and had a lot of weird like energies that were put upon it
Mhm.
because of the Anunnaki and the addiction to gold. And
Mm.
they needed it for their atmosphere. They were much bigger than we are, and they needed it for their planet. Now, Nibiru has been exited.
What do you mean? So this was
So,
anatomic gold that they said that they were mining here, or was it just regular gold that
yeah,
they were getting? Which one?
yeah. Well,
Both.
they wanted the anatomic gold, but they also loved gold everywhere. They
Okay.
were addicted to gold in general.
Okay.
And it was like a drug for them, you know? So basically, gold has been cleared probably over the last 3 years. It's really been getting cleared.
Hmm.
So energetically, gold is okay again. It's clear, it's beautiful, it's back to what Mother Earth intended it to be.
Hmm.
And silver was never really distorted in the first place.
Hmm.
So, and silver is like the higher mind, the etheric, the out of body experience. So it's
Hmm.
not as connected
Connection.
to the body. Yeah. So it's now time, and you can think of it as an evolution. It's now time for us to be aware of things that are outside of the body that
Mm.
have to do with consciousness.
Mm. This makes so much sense about why then
Yeah.
they suppressed it so much. And holding it back was so important because now people are focused on it and they're like, there's something more. There's something more. And that's interesting. And it's really important that you say we're not giving financial advice, but you do see, and this is where this discernment thing, I'm going to go back to that point, which, I have to remind myself. So I'm doing this for myself as much as anybody else, is that every time there's a narrative out there, question it. Why are they doing that? And as you stated very, very eloquently, honey, the narrative is, you know, it's going to be a snapback. You better sell that silver. You got that, but you better sell that silver. And the truth of the matter is that has been so repressed that there is no way silver is going to shift because there are two things going in it. First of all, there hasn't been enough and there's been a demand. And as the financial system transitions, everybody
Mhm.
wants to have something physical, tangible to hold on to because these derivatives, these paper derivatives that the banks did so well, the CDOs, the MBOs that created each of our recent financial crises are because they were paper versus something you hold. And people are saying, I think I'll take my silver now, or I think I'll take my gold. And boom, they realize it was fractionalized and there's not enough. The game of musical chairs has just been unveiled, and that's what's
Yeah.
going on. So this is so interesting right now because silver is running up, and you're right. Selling it is really another part of this fear game because they need to take control of it in order to have the banks not fail. Or the
Yeah.
current system not fail.
But it
Wow.
is going to fail.
Yeah. Well, it's not failing.
Yeah.
It's transitioning away. It was
It's
always,
transitioning, but the
yeah.
old system, the
Yeah.
big, the central bank, that's
Mhm.
going.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so there's more information, and I'm such a big fan of Catherine Austin Fitts because she says it from such an intellectual perspective, but also a heart space. She knows
Mhm.
the details about how the system works. And we're talking about, or she's been talking recently about the difference between the way the system works through the central banking system and the stable coins. Now, here's another narrative for us to understand so we can elevate and move on from the fear, which is the stable coin is the same genre as the CBDC, the central banking digital currency, because it's programmable. So, right now, honey, let's ask this question first. First of all, are the stable coins going to come in and take control?
I get no.
Okay. Were the stable coins originally designed to be programmable money?
Yeah. And that would have been the way that they fooled people into like basically thinking they were okay for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
putting the screws to them is what it
Mm-hmm.
feels like.
Yeah.
Um, but they're gonna go. They will maybe have a blip in our awareness and they'll go very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's part of the disclosure. Like they do have to show a lot of the things. Does
Mm-hmm.
that mean everybody's going to catch it? No, not everybody will see all of the things, but it is about exposure, and that's what the universe wants.
Mm-hmm. You can't have us ascending and increasing consciousness without understanding truth. And it's not to
Yeah.
get people upset or to go through this trauma. It's truth has to come out. So we had stable coins, which, was very interesting when you came out with the whole idea of, I remember one of my friends asking me the question, she's like, how did you learn about crypto? And I said, oh, I just studied. Like every time I do something, I'm like, I just study, study, study. I put myself in a room and I'm like, okay, I'm going to read this. I'm going to read that. And then I read and listen to things. This is how I do it. I'm just going to share.
Yeah.
And I absolutely don't understand a thing that they're saying, but I know eventually the consciousness of it gets into you. Not that I physically understand it. So I was doing that with crypto. And I was saying, then I map it out like a consultant would. And I say, what's the framework? And there was this difference where initially, when I did my initial analysis and assessment, I said, oh, stablecoin, that's good. Stablecoins are tethered to, even though one of them's called tether, I apologize for the pun, to a currency. That must be super good. That's good. That's super easy. You could do that. Sort of like that's the bond of the cryptos, and then you have the coins were the stocks of the crypto.
Mhm.
And then you stop back and you realize I said, no, 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 there was something really off about that. So these stable coins were, super interesting because they were meant to replace the current fiat currency. But
Yeah.
now you have a world where they're combining that with the digital ID. Yes, I had to mention the digital ID. Where are we now, honey, with this digital ID where half of us who are traveling have the facial recognition, they've got parts of our digital ID. What's happening there? And are they going to be able to connect things in a negative way for us?
I feel like the digital ID is dead. That's what comes in. Like it's not going to progress in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of, your banking, the quantum system, a lot of it will be energetic, so it will go on your frequency, it may read your DNA. Um, but that has to do with systems that are going to be more what we'll think are from the ETs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it'll be benevolent instead of malevolent. And just like AI can be one or the other because everything's a reflection of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the digital ID, the way that they're doing it, almost like you're like a criminal, that's all going to go away. And when I get asked like, "Oh, do you want to use your biometric information to get into your banking app or whatever?" I'm like, "No. I'll remember my password." But there will be a point where it doesn't have the negative frequency that it carries right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're going to know, oh, okay, this is actually going to make it really easy for me. And it doesn't feel gross. like it
Mm,
does right now.
mm.
And that will be switching the way that we do a lot of things.
And that's really interesting because it's once again, I think the theme of this discussion today is all about everything is on the tip of a pin and it's all slightly different perspective because you're saying the same thing, but it comes back to the intention part about which
Mhm.
way you're doing it. And if we're in fear, then we will have that and we are powerful and we'll create that. But right now, this financial system is shifting no matter what. They can't keep it together. People have seen too much, which is
Mhm.
so amazing. But the most important part of that is that they realize they're not controlled by it. We are abundant and there's plenty, 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 plenty. Like how much gold is there out there, honey? There's so much
Oh,
gold.
so much. And Mother Earth is constantly making it. She jokes that it's like boogers.
And this is the thing that's funny, which is like we value it. She's like, take, we love, it's great, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. Let's
She's
share,
like,
let's do
okay,
it.
pick the boogers. That's fine. Like
Let's have some more
she,
earrings. Let's do a
yeah.
ring. No, let's do the thing. And that's the funny thing, but it's all about going back to the
Mhm.
energy of money and the worthiness of money. And we're going through these final things, which is so interesting right now. Wow. So that leads us now to the another area, which is about who is going to be we're in this year 2026, and from many different perspectives, from numerology, from esoteric, from astrology, from the Bible, all of it is saying that we're in a particularly, energetically available moment for ascension. How are we handling we say we've got souls on the planet, we've got NPCs on the planet. What's happening right now with the NPC soul mix? What should we be sort of experiencing over the past or the next 9 months?
Well, we're going to have a lot more clarity. And I do see that we're going to have contact. Now, not everybody will have individual contact by then, but we will have contact as a group. Humanity will have contact. I mean, I talked to somebody yesterday and they were like, there's an ET's looking in the window. And they knew that he was good. And they were like, what is he doing? And he was like kind of the comedian of the spaceship, right? And he was there to try and make contact, but then also a little bit apprehensive. So instead of making contact, he was looking in the window to see if he could, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
If she was ready to
mm,
talk to him. And that's kind of what's going on. I mean, we think that ETs are so like, oh my gosh, they're an ET. They know everything. And it's like they're just another version of what we are,
mm,
right? And
mm-hmm.
they're here and they might feel awkward and this isn't their planet where they're normally at, or especially their frequency
Yeah.
where they operate in the fifth dimension consciousness wise,
Mm,
or beyond. And now we're in a frequency like a density that they can handle,
mm-hmm.
but the frequency that we're operating on,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, wow, I don't know, how am I going to have this conversation with them? Are they going to understand what I'm saying? Are they going to be mad at me? Are they going to yell at me? you know, like what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Because they're not used to that kind of behavior. Like when I asked the ET that was in the bedroom, what are your intentions? That was like I offended her so much, right?
Hmm.
And they don't operate the way we do, so to put out that feeling of distrust and like almost like what are you doing here, really bothered her. And I've
Hmm.
never seen her since. Right. So I've
Wow.
apologized to her in the etheric realm and, um, and I think she's forgiven me, but she's still bothered by it, you
Hmm,
know? So
interesting.
think about that. They
Yeah.
have feelings too,
Hmm.
you know?
Wow. No, but that's
Yeah.
interesting. Culturally, how are we going to understand the cultural differences? That's really an interesting point.
It's going to be a big deal for people.
Yeah.
And then you have the NPCs are starting to go. They're going to start to disappear. And you see a lot of people passing away right now. I think the ETs that we don't know them, they'll just be an excuse given. Maybe they're just a hologram at this point, and we create them as a crowd so
Hmm.
that we're comfortable. Like if we're in, say, Times Square, you're like, well, it's always crowded there. It's going to be crazy. And you are creating all of those holograms for you to walk through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of work, for one thing. It takes a lot of your own consciousness and your own energy to create that scenario for you. And we don't need to expend that energy anymore. And also, we don't need the pushback anymore. We've been so used to the pushback that
Mm-hmm.
we've created people to be pushing against us.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we're not going to need that anymore. We'll have enough contrast with other beings and learning things. We're not going to need the NPC. And right now, at this point, a lot of people are kind of tired of it.
Yeah, too much effort with it. But that's interesting. The pushback, we don't need that anymore. We've already given ourselves enough resistance to leap forward in the consciousness on that. But we're still
Yeah,
going to have some kind of other event that helps open up our consciousness to a broader level on a broader scale for the
yeah.
souls that are down here. Well, that's interesting. So NPCs are going to be slowly going away. We keep on hearing still people saying we have 8 billion souls on this planet, so what's the number that you feel? What are you getting right now?
We are um, well below 3 billion. That's what I'm getting right now.
How much is in India?
India, percentage wise, is only 10%. So,
What's the
and
largest country
countries
by,
that are massively populated, I feel like they have a lot more NPCs.
yeah. What's the largest population by souls in the planet that we know of right now?
Country wise,
Hmm.
the USA. And it's
That's my
because
intuition too.
we have to break everything open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's been that way for a while.
Yeah, no, I feel that way as too. What role is Europe playing? How many souls are truly in Europe?
Probably 12%
So
are
more
in
than
Europe.
India, more than
Yeah,
India.
more than India. And a lot of people are more awakened, and there's a lot of people that are moving to the UK. So they're also helping that shift
So the
as
UK
well.
specifically, or all of Europe?
All of Europe.
Mhm.
Sorry, all
Yeah,
of
no, no,
Europe.
that's okay. I just want to make sure for people
Yeah,
on there.
it's a
And
very
what?
USA
No,
answer.
no, this is important because the UK has been the home of the this Commonwealth, which has been very complicated
And the
situation.
reptilians.
Right there. And then you've got Canada, Australia being, implicated by that. That's very, very, very
Mhm.
thing. So let's talk then quickly about the royal family. There was supposed to be some news that something happened in the royal family. Did someone pass away supposedly in the royal family this week?
I think they'll show something in the royal family. Um, it feels like they will show that maybe one of them isn't really there anymore.
Hmm. Is that Catherine?
It feels like her, the one that had the cancer.
Hmm.
Yeah, it does feel like her. So we'll see.
Is she the original
Um,
Catherine?
the one that we see, no, no. I think she actually started out as a feminine then was replaced because he was also replaced. Philip, is it Philip? The
Uh,
older brother.
no, no, William.
I can't remember. William.
William. Hmm.
Yeah. So I think that they were actually a masculine feminine, and then all of a sudden she was a masculine, and it just was really twisted, that whole thing. And
Hmm.
he's had more than one as well, more than one person. I think he was actually like kind of a good looking, happy guy at first, and he's now like a stodgy, he's not the same guy. He's a completely different person.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Are Diana's children, William and Harry, are they the original ones still alive?
Yeah, and they're safe, and they haven't been there for a long time.
They didn't have to play out this role. Very,
Yeah,
very
I feel like
interesting.
she got them out before she had that accident,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
the accident was staged as well.
Right. So
So,
everybody is going through that.
yeah.
Very, very good. And I know a lot of people always ask about Canada. Because Canada, we have a little bit like our French Prime Minister, we have Macron. Or first of all, let's ask Macron. Why is Macron wearing sunglasses at Davos while he's inside?
His eyes are the wrong color.
And what color may they be, my dear? Is he a reptilian?
Um, well, he was. Is he now? No. They're just bringing attention to him that
Mhm.
he's playing a role, that it's
Mhm.
not the same person. They've also been bringing attention to the mask, you know.
Right, to the mask
Um,
wearers. Okay.
yeah, but I feel like his eyes were the wrong color there. Like they did that to say
So
this is not the same person.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
hiding himself.
Okay. And Carney, who's the Canadian prime minister, is also who has been he's the sort of the ultimate globalist who has been the Bank of England, the Bank of Canada, the now political leader. He just won't let go of these things and is making deals all over the place, going behind Trump. What's going on for Canada? They're really being put to the test.
Canada is going to be very happy to join with the United States by the time it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like the majority of the people will be very happy that that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's already happened underground, like or behind the scenes, whatever you want to call it. It's already done. Um, but it feels fairly soon, like maybe by summer or
Mm-hmm.
sometime this year that people will know that it's done. But it's all an unfolding. And a lot of countries, they will become sovereign and then they'll say, oh, yeah, we'll make an agreement with you. Let's
Mm-hmm.
be part of the same country,
Or
especially
zone or
after the
whatever.
ETs come in and people realize, oh, like there's other planets and, we're fighting with each other. And they think basically they're seeing us as acting like bratty children. People are not going to want to be seen that way.
Mm-hmm. Let's get
So,
along here. Yeah, let's get along here.
yeah.
Last thing, other thing, I one of the things that I hear now with people who are struggling through there are glimpses of awareness, awakening that's coming through. And one
Mhm.
of those is that why is Trump breaking all of this stuff? Everything was working just fine for me. Now you're breaking it. Is that what level of understanding is that at for people, and how do we help with that stage?
Probably 20 to 30% awakened at
Hmm.
this point,
Okay.
aware enough that they're going to stay, but not aware enough to lead the way in any way,
Got
shape,
it.
or form.
Got it.
So, and it's going to be a lot of people that have been awake for a long time that will create the foundation
Hmm.
of what's to come because they're aware of the big picture and they'll become more and more aware as we go of the big picture
Yeah.
and they'll create the foundation and people will come and learn and contribute, and they will awaken further and further through the process. That's why it's not a one and done. It's not like, oh, I stood at the podium and everybody's awake now, and this is the new system, and this is how we behave, and these are your new cars, and this is, I mean, nothing is going to happen like that. It's
Yeah.
not going to be that fast. Now, people will be taken out of poverty. There won't be a worry about survival anymore, and that will change the dynamic.
Mhm.
So, the monetary system will be one of the very first things to change, along with these other big systems that are falling apart.
Mhm.
But then we have to rebuild
And we have to create what we want to
and
build.
create.
But create what we want to build, which is
Mhm.
very, very interesting. Well, honey, I think that's enough for tonight. I'm going to leave the
Yeah.
one last question I have for our next thing. I want to talk about tokenization next time. But this
Okay.
is a lot. This is a lot. Thank you. Any last
Thank
words before
you.
we close out for this session?
I would say just allow yourself to cleanse these last big things that are coming up for people, and know that we're getting ready to go into a very fast stage.
Mhm.
So, resting and taking care of yourself right now is a really good thing. And don't feel like you have to pressure yourself to hurry.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Really good, because I feel like we are being triggered for those last things, and there's
Mhm.
such a cadence of it's here, it's here, it's here. We're cleansing, and Mother Earth is doing the same thing. So that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, honey, thank you so much. This is Lisa from
Thank
Question of
you.
Narrative, wishing everybody a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Love you guys.
You too. Bye.